And thanks for being with us here on Morning Live. Now, the death toll from the floods in KwaZulu-Natal has risen to 448. But we're going to cross now to Chriselda Lewis, who is in Pinetown, just taking a look and bringing us more on the mop-up efforts, also relief that will be brought to those who have been affected by these devastating floods. Chriselda, good morning. And just taking a look at where you are, the rubble around you. This, I imagine, was at some point someone's home.
Well, that's right, Sakina. Days after the floods, what remains is absolute devastation as communities are trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. And a community where I am in Nazareth, in Pinetown, a community here that is reeling from the shock and the loss. We understand that some of the homes in this area, there are relatives that are remaining behind who've lost multiple loved ones. We understand from the authorities here, including councillors as well, that more than 20 people have died in this particular area as a result of those devastating floods. Indeed, the area where I am, right here behind me, where a mudslide had taken place, is where one of the houses were. In just a moment, I'm going to speak to a young man who lost his mother, father, as well as his younger brother. If you take a look towards this direction, Sakina, you would see here, this is where the mudslide had taken place, and right towards the top of where we are, that's where one of the houses had collapsed from. And I'll be speaking to a young man who's basically lost everything. He is brave enough to speak to us this morning, but he's obviously, devastated by the loss of his loved ones. He will describe to us in just a moment exactly what had taken place. I'm going to try and walk down from here and paint a picture for you, Sakina, of the absolute devastation that we have seen in this particular area. Some of the homes here in Nazareth, in Pinetown, absolutely devastated. Most of them have also sunk so deep into the ground that people have had to go and seek shelter at one of the local halls here. I'm going to bring in now Nathi Majola, who we're really grateful he's able to speak to us this morning. Nathi Majola, unfortunately in these floods, the face of what we're seeing on the ground is absolute devastation. Nathi Majola lost his mom, his dad, as well as his younger brother, who is 15 years old. Nathi, condolences first of all to you and your family, Putwam, and we really appreciate ukukhulume nathi namhlanje kwi Morning Live. Nathi, it's been a grueling couple of days for you.
Of course.
You've lost a lot.
Yes. My house, my mother, my father, my younger brother. And I guess this is a natural disaster. We cannot stop it, but of course now we have to start somewhere.
And I mean, on that day, I understand that you were working outside with your dad and your younger brother, and it had been pouring.
Yes, it had been pouring. It had been pouring from 11 in the morning, actually, all the way up until the incident which happened at 1 a.m. So the whole day we were working. We didn't sleep. It was me, my father, and my brother. Of course, my mother was still at work at the time. And then when she came back, of course, that's when the incident happened. She came back, and then the house flooded with that huge mudslide that came down. So as I remember it was pouring heavy. Water was flooded everywhere. There's a certain level with the veranda, and we could see that something was wrong because the water is flowing, it's overflowing. So now we try to redirect the water, unclog the drains with my father, and then at 1 a.m., that's where it all happened. 1 a.m., my mother's inside the house, me, my father, my younger brother outside working, and all was well, the water hadn't come inside the house, and then all of a sudden this huge explosion of this mudslide came down, and it just wiped everything out. I managed to escape. I also got injured as well while I was escaping because it was still hitting me as it came down, and it was almost about to take me down as well. As you can see, it's quite a long fall from up there. So I managed to survive with some injuries. I was blocking my head. Huge boulders were coming down all at once, and I had seen that, and it's pitch black darkness, so this thing, you can't see anything at all, so it just took everything down. I couldn't see anything. but I had to rely on my instincts and my senses, at that moment, because that's all I could, use. And yeah, it was really crazy because when I looked again, I saw everything was gone. Because the image when you're still running is that maybe the water just came down and just stopped, by the walls of the house. And when I looked around, I'm like, whoa, everything's gone. That's crazy. And I knew immediately in that moment, I just said, you know what, everybody just passed on. Because at that moment, if you saw what I saw, it was just, you knew at that moment that no one could have survived that if I cannot see a signal, I cannot see anybody around. So I know that they're down there now, and I cannot see anything. And, this destruction that we see right now is, I think, just a percentage of what had happened. It's just a small percentage because I couldn't even see the roof itself, this part of the roof, and everything that you see here in the background, you could not see it properly. It was just full of mud. Everything was so high at a level that you could not see anything. So I managed to build a little bridge with those tiles to get over and get across. And also that bridge was not working properly because it was taking me down with it. But I knew that I had to go, and I have a studio over there, so that studio sort of survived because it was made of wood, and it didn't get so affected with the mudslide, because the mudslide hit the house directly, the main house directly, and the studio's on the outside. So I managed to take some of my stuff, bring it to the neighbors, and the neighbors were also watching because nobody could do anything at that point.
Yeah.
It was
Speak to one of your neighbors very shortly. Nati, thank you very much. I just want to quickly get to your neighbor as well, Mam Fikile. We'll speak to her in just a moment, but you can see here, Sakina, this is the remnants, some of the clothes that have also, just been washed away from right on top where we showed you. There's pots, there's clothes, which really paints a picture of the devastation here, bricks that have all just collided towards here. And I want to bring in for a second now, Mam Fikile, who managed to witness all that was taking place here. She is one of the neighbors. Mam Fikile, siyabonga kakhulu ngesikhathi sakho ma. Mam Fikile, nilahlekelwe. Nilahlekelwe mama. Uboneni ngalelo langa, sibona ukuthi uhlala la eduzane nje, umakhelwane wabonathi.
Into enza yaqala Chriselda, saqala sabizwa omakhelwane basitshela ukuthi kuvulekisa inkholi la ekhaya egcekeni. That's when we realized ukuthi kunemvula heavy ekhona. So when we went out ila sabona khona hayibo kuvale kumgwaqo noma yini, then so we tried to scream sibiza omakhelwane ukuthi sicela siphumeni endlini ngoba imvula inkulu, which means by God, I don't know what plan he already planned for them, but it was devastating what we saw on that day. It's like a horror movie. It's something that we'll never forget. And to come back and dig up the bodies, that was the worst part that we've experienced. Fortunately, our neighbors, they tried their level best to babheka imzimba sisebenzisane clean yonke leyo nto nekhansela lethu ke he's there for us. He was there from day one assisting. Yeah, so nje kubhlungu into engeke iphole manje.
Mamfikile siyabonga kakhulu ngesikhathi sakho. I'm just going to go to one more a guest that we asked to speak to this morning. Babongani is the local councillor here. Babongani siyabonga kakhulu ngesikhathi sakho baba. Baba ukhona usizo olusofikile lana. Inkinga zenu siza ukuthi sekushona abantu over 20 in this area. Ukhona mhlawumbe usizo olufikile nokuthi uzosiza umphakathi lana ngoba akumosheke nyani.
Yebo likhona usizo lifikile ngomgcabelo belana baba umeya umxolisi Khawunda ehambisana noNdunankulu waKwaZulu-Natal ubaba uSihlezi Kalala Patrick Motsepe noMisizulu. Emva kuba befikile la zikhona izinto eziningi ezinyakazayo. Abantu abadlulile emhlabeni bawu 26. Imias office siyasebenzisana neoffice layo etheni basilekelele bonke labantu bakwazi ukufihleka. Bakhona nabanye abangakatholakala. Sithemba ukuthi ke kusukela izolo namhlanje bazatholakala ngoba mningi imizimba esemakhazeni kahulumeni. Siyacabanga ukuthi yophela isona cishe betholakele bonke amaphoyisa asilekelele ukuthola imizimba. Namhlanje sinde lo gandaganda jenela yonke imigwaqo ekhona la eWard 16. Uhulumeni uyazama ukungenelela noma kungelula ngoba this is a disaster. Kuningi la ekonakele khona kodwa kancane kancane siyalekelelana.
Just very quickly, I know we're running out of time. Our colleagues will ask if we can just move towards this direction. Very quickly here, Sakina, I really need to show you this. These houses completely submerged. I'm going to try and move with my colleague Tulo Munare here. And you understand it's a very difficult area to walk to. And the homes here completely submerged, being buried right underground. These are some of the homes that have been completely destroyed. And here we understand that there are still many others that are unaccounted for at this stage. As the mayor was here a little bit earlier on this past week, you also had a situation where you had, we understand from the local councillor who I just spoke to, him indicating that there have been more than 26 people, he said, 26 people who have passed away as a result of the devastating floods here. And I'm going to try and move towards this particular direction here. I will try my utmost best to try and move here. I'll ask my colleague Tulo Munare to come with us. You'd see here, this is where the absolute destruction has taken place. Homes that have collapsed, homes that have completely collapsed on residents. There are many others that are still unaccounted for at this stage. And we do understand that over the past couple of days, you've had the rescue workers that have been in this area to try and assist with the situation here. But it's a very tough one, where you have residents who are trying to pick up the pieces. We're hearing that the authorities here in eThekwini are going to try and assist in terms of the burial of the loved ones of those that we have spoken to, and others, of course, to try and ensure that they do get dignified burials. But there's absolute devastation, mayhem here. This is what remains of some of the roads that were in this particular area. There's absolutely nothing left. And we do understand that from residents here, there will be an indication in terms of when some of those burials will take place. Rescue operators have also been in this particular area, and many others, of course, around the province. And I guess while the residents here of Nazareth try to pick up the pieces of their lives, they're really a community that's in mourning, Sakina.
Oh, absolutely heart-wrenching there, Chriselda, and, just listening to Nati and the other members of the community there putting a face to this tragedy, and it takes on a whole new dimension.